So first of all, congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
It's intense but very emotional and heartfelt.
Thank you.
What made you choose this story, which you also co-wrote for your first directorial debut?
Um, I guess it was first seeing the documentary Surviving Mumbai. I didn't know too much about the Mumbai attacks, other than seeing some burning buildings on the television screen. And when I heard the real life stories of what people had gone through, I couldn't believe it. And I knew it was something that I wanted to do. I didn't exactly know why, but I just felt that there was a real story in there. And the further that we got into it, I started to realise, how special both the guests and the staff were in terms of what they did in order to survive. And it was something that really hooked me from early on.
Right. And I heard there was a little bit of an accident on set with you losing your thumb.
There was indeed, yes.
Yeah.
We were 10 days out from filming, and because Diwali was going to be happening the day after we finished filming, which is like, as you know, I guess you could say the Indian equivalent of Christmas, we had to bring our wrap party forward. So the wrap party was going to be 10 days before we finished. And I had a bit of an accident where I went to move a fan, at a bar where all our cast and crew were. And on this, big old Indian fan, there was a bit of a gap in the cage that my sort of thumb went into, and it came off.
Oh.
And panic ensued, and I rushed to one hospital, and all the cast and crew were on the ground with their iPhones looking for the finger. Dev Patel found it, rushed it to the hospital, and reattached as much of it as they could. But
That's the story.
it is indeed.
When you're talking about real life events, and there are so many accounts of what happened, so how do you get all that research going? And I believe you've spent a year on this.
Yeah,
research?
we spent about 10 months looking into the different stories of the survivors. We had a bit of a head start because, again, this documentary Surviving Mumbai was made by people who were one of the first groups on the ground to interview the survivors. So we started looking at all their footage to begin with, but then reconnecting with a number of the guests and staff, many of whom had since gone to different parts of the world. So some of the interviews were by Skype, video chat, by phone, but really it was when we went to Mumbai itself and we stayed in the Taj for a couple of months that it all really started to come together. And their stories, really did inform our entire approach to the movie. So.
And what's interesting is you identified the bad guys, but at the same time, I felt like there was a layer of humanity to it. So was that something intentional throughout?
It was intentional insofar as I'd sort of developed this idea after looking into the attacks with my co-writer with John Colley, that these gunmen were from impoverished areas of Pakistan, and there were over 100 recruits that were whittled down finally to a final 10 that went over to India, and the common theme amongst them was they're indoctrinated, and I didn't want to make them cardboard cutouts. I wanted to make them living, breathing people. And in short, there was one sole surviving gunman. His name was Ajmal Kasab, as you might know. And there are video interviews where he confessed to what he'd done. And there's a long series of court cases where there's thousands of pages of transcripts that gave a real insight into his experience. And beyond that, the most chilling thing was all of this was happening in real time, these attacks, where you had all of these 10 terrorists on the phone to their handlers by satellite phone, and the Indian security forces or police had intercepted them. And so we got transcripts which are publicly available, of what was said in a minute-by-minute basis. And that together with the court case transcripts allowed us to paint a picture of who they were to an extent.
What did you learn about the events that happened that shocked and probably moved you the most?
I think it was the idea that you had people from all races, all backgrounds, all ethnicities, all vastly different socioeconomic groups coming together in order to survive. The Taj is one of the few places where you would have, a hedge fund manager worth many millions of dollars, and then next to him is a waiter who, has come from the Dharavi, slums, let's say. And when the attacks happened, they all became on a pretty equal playing field, and they were in it together. And And that's, I guess, what moved me the most.
And lastly, how important is it to bring this story to a wider audience?
I think in this time where there's a lot of division in the world, I think the story is critical. I think the example that the Taj staff and guests set is one that people should be made aware of. And it's an honour to be able to have made the film. And I personally have a big sense of obligation to those people who survived it and also those who didn't. And I hope that we do justice to their story.
For sure, it's really well done. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
chatting with
Thank
us
you
and
very
wishing you all
much.
the best.
Thank you.